For those of you that might need to leave early, we'll have recordings afterwards, or if there's colleagues that couldn't make it today, hopefully don't need to leave early. It's not going to be terribly long. We'll try to keep things short and sweet and give you some new ideas here for your training program. So we're going to talk about PowerPoints, and I do understand the irony of me using 1 year. I don't think it's necessarily to burn your PowerPoints to the ground and use something else, although we do know people that do that. We have some people in our organization that do that as well. So, but I do think it's valuable to show you how I can use the information that's in my slides today into something that's a little bit more engaging. So, a couple questions before we get started, and I appreciate all of you that chimed in. Let me know where you're from and who you're with. So I appreciate that. Oh, Orange County, great. Know a lot of folks in Orange County. So what are you doing now? And I guess what I mean by that is, I guess more specifically with your live training, what are your sessions like? Are you doing a lot of PowerPoint? Is it a lot of lecture? Is it a lot of blank stares? Is it virtual? Is it in person? What does it look like? What are your participants like in the class? I think more importantly, are you finding that each class session is the same, or it feels like the same? And I've been there before. I've taught for a number of years as well, and you start to get into a routine and you start to feel like things are kind of the same. Too much PowerPoint. Well, we can help you with that, Robin. Incorporating a lot of breakout sessions and role plays. That's great. I mean, I think anytime you're doing things, you're going to be better. Fair amount of PowerPoint. Oh, CHOP, great. I know a few of the folks in CHOP there. So challenges are remote engagement. We'll cover that briefly. But I think, I guess another thing I'm curious is, what are specifically some of the challenges you have in those classroom sessions? And I think it's good that we're getting so much feedback here, but they're all virtual, combo of Kahoots, Mentimeter, breakout rooms, plus PowerPoint. I mean, Mentimeter is basically like a polling PowerPoint. And I do think that polling's good, kind of what Kahoots is as well. So we do live and virtual PowerPoint with activities and videos. Yeah, I think, there's probably no correct cocktail of how to do this. But I do think that anytime you do have a healthy mix, it's going to be beneficial for your participants. Oh, really good feedback. I appreciate that. So I know it's kind of early some places here. So we're gonna talk just briefly about it, and I'm gonna kind of show. I'm more of a shower than a talker. So basically, why stop? So I think the most important thing to remember, PowerPoints really aren't interactive. They're lecture tools, and I don't think they're designed to be anything else. So I don't really want to pick on PowerPoint that way. And in some cases, it's important to lecture. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing here. So I'm asking some questions. You guys are trainers, so you get it. You're giving me feedback. But in a lot of cases, you might have participants that are not. I know it sounds like we have someone with Advocate that does EMS training. Those are people that like to be on the field. They don't want to be in a classroom. So I imagine a lot of the folks that you guys are training are not people that want to sit in a classroom. They graduated from college and now they want to do something, maybe specifically with their hands. So I think it's important to remember that you don't necessarily have to do PowerPoint just to do it. I think that's part of the mindset we have is, okay, we've, I've been in some lectures, I've seen other people do it. Now I have to kind of do some repetition of that. So, you don't have to do that. And then the main reason I think is because partly it holds you back, right? You're setting up your presentation basically on the premise of the slide. So, okay, we talk about this, then we talk about this, then I ask the question, then we talk about this. Okay. Excuse me. That was unrehearsed sneeze there. But it basically creates, and I do think it's good to have a plan before you get into a presentation, but you're not beholden to it. And I think PowerPoint sometimes holds you back in that sense, creating a different experience for each classroom session, because hopefully your participants are different. What are some things that you like about PowerPoint? Are there any? All right. Another reason, too much effort, and it takes too long. Basically, I don't know, you guys have built these PowerPoints. I hate building these things. That's why mine are usually pretty short. But again, I think it halts the creativity, it halts the spontaneity. and stops the, sort of unique discussions that you can have. So in a way, it handcuffs you. It doesn't allow you to do things different each time. Again, having some sort of loose structure that you work off of is important. There's topics you probably, need to cover, or in some cases just want to cover. And I think that's okay. But, I think anytime you have these 60 slide decks, you're going to be frustrated. Not, like I said, not saying that you should get rid of and burn down your PowerPoints, but maybe you can trim the fat off of them. And we'll talk a bit about how to do that as well. Another reason that PowerPoint, I think, can be a little frustrating, the lack of analytics. I know somebody mentioned they use polling with Metameter and Cahoots, and I know some of you use our games that have polling in them as well. But I think that when you have data, when you have analytics, basically especially that real-time feedback that you're getting, being able to use that information immediately is important, because you might not have another chance. So using analytics in any way that you can, whether it's through games, through polling, through breakout sessions, getting information that you can reuse later, I think is extremely useful. So what else? The thing that we're good at, and I mentioned a few other things, I think that there's some good things out there. Certainly if you have polling tools, there's a variety of different ones out there, including our own. But I think our bread is buttered typically with games. And I think there's different ways that, you can think of games. You can think of kind of goofy animated ones, which is probably what I'm going to show you here today. But there's more serious formats as well. Metameter, or our version would be Tally, kind of coupled with the games, is a great way to get feedback and still present information. But ultimately, I think one of the things that you could do, and I'm going to show you how to do this today, is repurpose some of your slides. You don't need to have 60 slide presentations where you're lecturing all the time, because I know some of us will build in spots to have questions. I did it today. But ultimately, the feedback that I'm getting today might not be as good as the feedback you're getting, or in some cases better. So we're going to talk about how to repurpose your PowerPoints. So the first thing is, if you do have a slide that you want to reuse, I'm going to show you how to quickly do it. So the obvious way is, if you have a game, let's say we're building a Jeopardy kind of styled game here, I can copy the text, I can copy those images, drag them into a game, drag them into a poll, use them as handouts, create games. There's a lot of ways to do it, but I think one of the best ways to do it, especially if you have the content pre-built already, is to export it. And this is just a quick slide of how you can export that data. I'm using a Mac, but if you go to File, click Export, and then it'll ask you to save as. If you save it as a JPEG, you can see this one here, or PNG is also going to work as well. It's a little bit higher quality. You can just export that image. Basically, it effectively turns the PowerPoint slide into an image that you could repackage into different formats. So wanted to give you one quick idea, one quick little tool that you can use. So I'm not just showing you a game. Oh, how do I do that? It's harder than it looks. It's really easy. And PowerPoint gives you the option to export all the images. So, or one or two, maybe you just want to use one or two of them. So I think it's a really useful thing in the sense that I'm going to show you here. We'll come back to this questions and feedback. I want to show you guys a quick game here. We'll play a quick one, giving you some of the information that we kind of just talked about here. So if you have your cell phones handy, I like to have people use their cell phone. And I know you guys are very attentive trainers. You're obviously here for a reason. But it's a good habit I like to have, because when I'm doing presentations, when I'm doing training sessions, it's just a way to keep people off their phone, especially when they're working virtually. There's way too many distractions at home. So you can use that QR code. If you've ordered in a restaurant in the last year, you've probably figured out how to do that. Or you can open up another tab on basically any device, and you can go to bravozone.us. It should ask you for an ID. And go ahead and punch in that ID, and you can choose theme, red or blue. Type in your name, or you could type in a goofy name if you want. Maybe we get some more people on the blue team. I know the princess is pretty cool. We need some mustache things as well. Okay, and also the nice thing about these two is you can also join later. So we'll have this thing at the bottom. If you're not able to get in, is anyone having any issues getting in right now? My oh, here it is. I was looking at the chat here. It looks like everybody's still in here. Yeah. Okay, good. We got a couple on the blue team. I'm going to go ahead and move it along. Like I said, if you want to join later, you can still go to this bravozone.us and participate as well. Give you a really good idea of how this might look. I'll turn the sound down too. So this is Catapult. Like I said, just one of our goofier games. There's more serious presentations too. We have Tally. It's just basically a PowerPoint kind of littered in with polling and kind of similar to Metameter. It has different types of questions, but I like this one because I like the animation, just to be honest. So again, I mentioned before, how do you repurpose? And this is just simply a slide, right? So I could have taken that image that I just exported from my PowerPoint, put it right in here. There's an old PowerPoint. But it's a very useful space just to lecture a bit if you need to. And in some cases, people will use our tools. We'll send out pre-quizzes. So maybe we have our training session today, Tuesday. You send something out on Monday. Hey, we just want to see where everybody's at. Take a quick quiz. Repurpose those questions, kind of rearrange them. Maybe focus on some areas that you think people need to improve on. So this could be a moment where you lecture, you introduce the topic a little bit more. Here we're talking about PowerPoint slides. Death by PowerPoint, but and this is a question kind of related to our presentation we did in PowerPoint here. What's the biggest reason PowerPoint isn't the end all and be all of training? It constricts discussion, takes too long to make, holds presenters back, or there's too much information overload. This is my my PowerPoint. If you guys have ever made a PowerPoint Jeopardy game, it's kind of what it looks like. You get your little spaghetti diagram there. I like that picture. And our game, just letting me know who still needs to answer. So that's something that you could do. Again, it's not telling me any percentages right now. If I want to lecture a little bit more, I can. So again, if you have those slides, you can just throw them in there. Even if they're images, you get that information. I'm going to go ahead and click next to get those percentages on there. All right, cool. So a little bit of a gap here. And again, this is exactly what I meant with the analytics, right? So we're getting real-time data to take a look at where we are. Clearly, there's a little bit of a knowledge gap here, right? So 40% of my class is C, 20% say A and D. Now, if I wanted to, I could have a longer discussion here. Hey, why did you guys choose A? Hey, why did you guys choose D? And then why did most of you choose C? So we're creating unique experiences each time we're presenting. And I think using, again, polling data to do that, the games make it a little bit more fun because it adds the competition factor. But it's a real simple way to use your lecture material, make it more engaging. Correct answer is actually C, according to me, holds the presenter back. And again, repurpose that PowerPoint lecture material into another slide, right? So this information is not super useful, but again, it creates a moment for me if there is a knowledge gap to address it, to remediate, to have a little bit more discussion, to fill in those knowledge gaps. So I'm sure you could picture some of your own lecture material in here. Hey, we talk, we ask a question, we get the feedback, we ask, and we figure out why people are thinking the way we are so that we can maybe adjust our questions next time or adjust our teaching material next time. And then we remediate at the end. Hey, actually, here's the right answer. Or even for people that got it right, hey, 40% of you got it right. Here's some more information. Maybe you didn't know this. So it's great to have these lecture slides, and lecture is important to supplement your questions and to supplement your material. Ty, oh no. Okay, so no animations here. Organizations require real-time analytics to know what's happening. So this is going to be an analytics question. Why are analytics so important to present? And I like to put in little GIFs. You can also put in videos. And, a lot of times people will ask you for your PowerPoint slides after a presentation. Why not send out a game? Make it more interactive. Plus, it gives you that analytics as well. So it's a combination of many different things that you can use sort of in your toolbox here. You can't use PowerPoint. No, we can't not use PowerPoint. I'm not saying that you shouldn't use PowerPoint. I think that there's a place for PowerPoint, and in some cases you might just be required to, especially if you work for like the government or something. So I just think, maybe less of it. If you have 60 slides, it's probably a lot. All right. Again, kind of all over the board here. If they will pass, creates discussion or teachable moments. There's probably two right answers here. It could be B, could be C. I personally think it's kind of D, but I was told it was B would be better. So know what my attendees know. That's true, right? Basically, using the data helps you know what people know. And then I think more importantly, it allows you to ask additional questions, right? So I know that 40% of my class thinks D. Now I can use that information to ask follow-up questions and to really have unique experiences each time. Hi, what's going on here? We need to have some drama here. Most trainers these days are using some type of activity or game. So why? Games are only good for all right, let's see if I can get in here. All right, we'll let a couple more people answer here. And, okay. False. Okay, looks like somebody said true. Whoops. Maybe a mistake. Creating interactive experiences using the ability to create teachable moments. Yeah, basically just the same stuff I'm regurgitating here. But it looks like the blue team did win based on that last question. So, red team, I'm sorry. Your castle is defeated. And this is just one of many different games we have. Like I said, I kind of like the goofy ones because it creates competition. I know some of you teach people that are highly competitive. I know, especially people that work in the field, they tend to be very competitive. But our games, we can highlight that, we create competition, and then the other thing you can do is send a follow-up as well. Hey, we didn't do so great on question 2. Just drag it into a quiz, send it out 2 days later. Hey, we just want to see where you're at. Again, you repurpose that PowerPoint material into something that's more engaging, such as a game. Then you can also repurpose it into an interactive quiz, or a newsletter, or a podcast, or 100 other things. So great job, Robin. Looks like you got all of them right, kind of based on the percentages as well, the teammates. The part I like is it'll go over and it'll re-highlight the percent correct. So maybe the analytics question people didn't know so well, we can remediate it again. Again, using that data to to fill in those knowledge gaps is super important, I think, in how we do it. I'm going to skip back over to this presentation as well, in my PowerPoint, I mean. Here we go. So, oops, full screen. This is my other problem with PowerPoint is it's a little clunky sometimes, right? So any questions? I know it's been kind of quiet. I've been kind of lecturing a bit here, talking a bit. Any comments? Any thoughts about PowerPoint? Like I said, people have gotten pretty clever, I think, with how they've trained this past year, in the sense that we've had to do things a little differently, in terms of using virtual content, in terms of creating more interactive material. I think anytime you can use the games to do several things, again, play the game, afterwards drag it in, send it out as a quick little, hey, this is just some stuff we want you to remember. Really useful, especially if it's repurposed, lecture material. Give something, where people can do something, create competition. Any questions? It looks like the chat thing's not working here. Let's see if I can turn it on. For some reason, it's not working. Allow meeting chat. It says enabled. Well, I can turn the microphones on too. There's not too many of us here. Okay. Okay. If you're not able to chat, feel free. Oops. If you're not able to chat, feel free to just hop on here. It's like I said, there's only about 10 of us, but I'm really curious about your feedback. If you think games are a good idea, if you're using them, maybe, if you're currently using the games now, maybe just as a review session, maybe it's a good idea to think about using them as a presentation tool as well. Any comments, any questions? Hopefully it was helpful. Again, my name's John. This is a kind of a bad picture of me, but if you do have questions, if you want to have, maybe some more in-depth conversation about how to repurpose some of your lecture material, shoot me an email. You can always call me too. I'd be happy to set it up with you and your team. I know Aaron too, who was on the call earlier, happy to help as well. But let us know if it's something we can help you out with. Again, we kind of just scratched the surface today. I just wanted to give you some big kind of ideas and how you could, make your lecture material a little bit more interesting, a little bit more engaging. But hopefully I gave you some new idea. How many different types of games and how is the setup different from one to the next? Yeah, so we have, I think currently there's 9 games. And actually, I can just maybe share that screen. It'd be easier to do that. So, let's see here. Put this, here it is. I'll switch back to this one. So we currently have, I think it's 9 games. The setup's the same for each of them for the most part. So these 5 at the top, I think are you able to see my screen? Okay. Okay, good. Thanks, Wanda. The setup's pretty much the same. So really the biggest difference between these 5 at the top is just your style. If you want a more serious kind of TV, styled game, kind of like Jeopardy, there's a wheel game. It's not really like Wheel of Fortune, but it's more of a multi-category game. The biggest difference is just the categories. Do you want multi-categories? Do you want single categories? And then the animations. I like Catapult because it's goofy and you don't see the 5 at the top. I'm struggling here. I'll just share the whole screen, might be easier. There we go. Okay. So hopefully you can see it now, but these 5 at the top, you got Quiz Show, kind of more of a Jeopardy style game spin-off. Catapult, which is the one we played today. You guys tried on all the questions though, so it's kind of weird, but normally there's more animations, which I like. I like the goofy kind of nature of it. Same with Moonshot, multi-teams. Tally is more of a serious presentation. Again, 100% instructor-led. It does more polling. You can ask different types of questions, open-ended. We can do image mapping. I know we have some nurses that use it for determining like patient sickness, which one of these patients is exhibiting signs of jaundice. And they'll click on the guy that looks yellow. And then Spark, which is a self-paced game. Quizzes, you could send them out after, before sessions. I'll send you guys a Spark quiz after as well, kind of just recapping some of the stuff that we covered today. The cost, that was a question, right? Is there a cost for these game templates? Yeah, so it's an annual subscription. It's $1,600 a year, so not super crazy. And everything's included, including new things that we have come out. Looks like Billionaire just came out this month, and we'll have actually an update to Tally later this year. But the building part of it is very easy. So if I'm building, let's say, a quiz show, it basically guides you through that whole process. So we'll type in test. And then as you build out the questions, you can reuse them in a question library. So again, dragging content in. If you want to add new content, again, if you have those PowerPoint slides, you can just drag them in here. You don't have to do a whole lot. If you want to make them look like they're part of the game, you can just copy the text, insert the images, and you're good to go. So if you wanted to build a quick game, the game I built this morning probably took me, 10 or 15 minutes, just based off of the PowerPoint content that I had. And I just found some new images. That's probably what took the longest. Good. Any other questions? I really appreciate everybody hopping on the call today. This is my game format. I wanted to leave this up here. Really appreciate everybody being on here. if you guys do have questions, if there's other things that you would like to chat about, I think I'm a good resource for turning your lecture material into something that's more engaging. I also do a quick chat on how to bridge age gaps. So I think I did that earlier this month. But if there's something I can help out with, if there's something that you think you could use the games for, even if it's just to think of some new ideas, I'm always good for it. So I appreciate everybody's time, and I want to make sure we're under 30 minutes here. So we'll just thank you and hope you guys have a good day. If you have questions, let me know. Take care.
Mm.